Welcome to the Heidi Thorne Show. I'm your host, Heidi Thorne, and in this podcast, I share my real-world self-publishing and small business experience with you. So let's get started with today's show. Now, I had a really good question come up through the blog from an author who was very concerned about her new book project the idea of it being stolen by someone. So she was really anxious to get to market with her book. Now, there's several issues to unpack here. And the first one, let's just address the copyright issue. Once you put your book idea into what's called fixed form, which means that it's written down on a piece of paper, it's an electronic file, you type it, it's in a fixed physical form, it is copyrighted from that instant. For those who want extra protection for their work, they can register the copyrighted material with the U.S. Copyright Office or whatever office that is in your country to register the copyright so that in case there's a claim that you want to make against someone who is ripping off your work, then you have some documentation about your date of claiming ownership of that work. But I think the bigger question that we have to address here is the book idea. Now, ideas are everywhere, and ideas are not copyrightable unless it's actually in a form that is fixed. You have no claim to it. So ideas are just in the ether, I guess you could say, but they're everywhere. And so the problem with it is there's a lot of ideas, but there's very little execution and implementation of ideas. So everybody's got a lot of ideas. You'll have people who say, oh, well, I thought of Uber before Uber thought of Uber. Okay, so if you did, well, then you didn't do anything with it, so too bad for you. So until you have it in a fixed form, it isn't protectable. Now, of course, laws may change from one country to the other about how they protect copyrights and whatnot, but I'm talking about particularly here in the United States. And I think the other thing about it is that book ideas are actually very common. So you may think your book or your book idea is so incredibly original. Chances are it's not. I think they've said that there's maybe, 6 plot lines or something very small in the world, and everything's a variation thereof. So that's for that kind of book. But even other book ideas, here's the way you can find out. I want you to go to Amazon, and I want you to type in your particular book idea or topic or genre. And I want you to see what other books are out there. I am going to guess that there are tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of titles that are within your genre or your topic area that are going to be very, very similar to yours. The differentiator is what you do with those ideas. So I see a lot of people who have these ideas, book ideas. Oh, I want to do this. I want to write a book. And I will tell you that the more people talk about a book idea, I found that it's the less likely that they actually do it, because they, talk, but they don't implement their ideas. So there's that issue. And the other thing with book ideas is that you should be able to differentiate yourself within your particular genre or marketplace. So even though your book idea may be very similar to everyone else's, what makes it different from everyone else's? And if you don't know, you don't have a prayer of marketing this book at all. The other thing about this protecting your book idea and wanting to race to the market is that you're playing defense, even though it sounds like you're playing offense because you want to race to market to be the first. You're actually playing defense because you think that somebody's going to encroach on your work, so you've got to be the first, and this is just, you have to protect. Now, I am not going to say that your book idea or even the book itself, once it's out in the marketplace, there's no guarantee that it's going to be protected from anybody ripping off the whole thing or even parts of it. And in fact, sometime back, that was a real topic of conversation with books on Amazon. There were a lot of counterfeit copies, stuff like that happens. But I would say for most self-published authors, it's probably less likely of a situation, especially if you're throwing out 99-cent books out there. What is the incentive for someone who wants to rip off your work so that they can work really hard to market this 99-cent book? That's less likely to happen. Where a lot of counterfeiting occurs is with big dollar value books that are like reference works and things like that. It really is common there, and you can see their concern. But for your 99-cent book, or even if it's a couple dollars, these people want to rip off, they're going to rip off books that are like huge sellers, so I would be a little less concerned about that and a little more concerned about differentiating yourself in the market, making sure that your marketing message about your book is crystal clear so that your potential readers know exactly what the benefit is of reading your book. Now, I hope you have found this reassuring and informative. And if you did, I would really appreciate it if you would go over to Apple Podcasts and give the Heidi Thorne Show a nice rating and review. And of course, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to the podcast. It is on Apple Podcast. It's also on Podbean and Spotify and Stitcher and and the major platforms like that. So please subscribe so you don't miss one of these episodes. And if you like the video version better, no problem. You just have to subscribe to my YouTube channel and make sure that you tap the notifications bell that's near the subscribe button so that you'll get notified when a new video comes out. My books are available on Amazon. My audiobooks, ebooks, and print books are available on Amazon, Audible, and Apple Books. If you'd like to follow me on social media, I'm in a lot of different places, and I would appreciate it if you would share the Heidi Thorne Show with your friends on social media. If you'd like to connect with me, my website is very simply HeidiThorne.com. Thank you so much for listening and for your support. I'll look forward to talking with you again in the next episode, and in the meantime, have a great day.